1982, Swami Vishnu-devananda talks about pranayama, anatomy, and physiology.
Where you get below the lumbar spinal nerves, there are also nerves at the bottom. We'll discuss during the nervous system at that part. When you hit that, what is happening is, first of all, you drop. The muscles naturally get a kind of that sensory impulses reaching to your spinal cord and some to your central nervous system both. These are the things I will discuss when you go to the nervous system. When both get a nervous reaction by the sensory nerves, in return it comes as reflex reactions to the motor nerves, to the muscles, and a portion of this energy will go also, impulse will go to the central nervous system, your brain, that your cerebrum, and you get a kind of sensation, a very beautiful sensation when it's properly performed. So it's a combination of Bhastriya, Bandhas, and okay. First of all, once more we do this 5 times strike. Okay, inhale, just gently hold the breath and just strike it without much bandha. Just first learn the thing. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, just inhale and hold the breath. Apply the bandhas, both the bandhas. Now, while holding and making the bandha, do the same thing 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Rest. Now, the same thing we are going to repeat. Inhale, hold the breath, but you go a little faster striking. Inhale, hold the breath, apply the bandhas, begin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, rest. Once more, we do 10 times pump, striking. Inhale, hold the breath, apply the bandhas perfectly. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Rest. Now we are going to combine the full Shakti Chalani, Bhastriya, Bandhas, and striking. All physical, mental, everything should be applied with all your concentration. All the good things you can bring it down perfectly now if you properly practice this. Inhale, exhale. We do 5 pumping only we are going to do. But use as much as possible. Inhale. Now begin. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now inhale and apply bandhas, all the locks. Now 8 times strike. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, come beyond it. Thank you. Relax. So this process you can learn individually, but here you practice separately for a few days. And of course, bandhas you are practicing already, you know how to do during the alternate breathing also. Then practice striking separately 5, then with mere retention, and then with bandhas, and then join all the 3. Bandhas, Bhastriya, first Bhastriya, bandhas, and then this you practice 3 rounds, all in the beginning. If you want, you can reach up to 5, but be very careful. Do not go beyond your capacity. If any time you get any type of reactions, stop it until you get consultation. The result will be always positive, but sometimes due to your over-enthusiasm or improper other breathing exercise or wrong muscles you are using, a diaphragm is not properly going, or your diet is not perfectly all right, and you are eating sometimes junk foods and impurities are there, you are not doing alternate breathing enough, then you may have some reactions which is not pleasant. In that case, stop it, wait for the further instructions, and then you carry on. Until that, if any time you get in any pranayama, doesn't matter, any time negative impulse feeling you get in, then stop it. Because there's something is wrong. You have to correct that. Just like the car is running. If it's not running, there's something is wrong. The engine is knocking, or there is the cooling system is not working, or the battery is not charging. So any one of the things will bring problems to the car if you just go on to continue to drive. So stop. As soon as you find a problem in your car, you just take it to garage and find out and how to remove the cause. So also you can have different causes also. Some people so enthusiastic, they want to just get all the energy, Kundalini awake in first 2 days and maybe 2-3 months. Don't. Never make a program to get results within few days or few months. Then you'll have next reactions, you'll have kickbacks. Kickbacks means like a rifle, a loaded rifle you shoot by putting on your shoulder. As you do what, you get it? Recoil. And that's exactly going to get with any spiritual practice. When you do too much, whether japa or meditation or asanas or anything, you go too much in one side, you will have reactions, kickbacks. If you want to avoid kickback, always understand the middle path. Never over enthusiasm for a few times and then eventually completely lose everything and not. Your course must be arranged for a lifelong. Next idea. This is a lifelong. So, systematically practice what you learned here and analyze and go through the notes and go through the books again, and then you will see you will be kept on the right path throughout the life, and just like a tree slowly growing step by step, and then once it comes and brings the flowers and then you get fruits and then wait for the ripening time, then the fruit will be very tasty. Same thing, spiritual evolution also. Just like planting a small tree, an apple tree you planted, you can't expect the fruits by tomorrow. You have to nourish it, you have to water it, you have to weed it out all the weeds and protect from the animals. In that condition, the tree will grow. If you go on, take care of the tree, and after years, you get a beautiful result. That's called the fruit you can enjoy. Same with the spiritual progress also. Awakening the Kundalini will come naturally. It is not something in your hand. It's God's grace. You practice systematically synthesis of yoga, but not one. One yoga you can take it as a main one, as Master Sivananda says, but other portion of the yogas, Bhakti Yoga, devotion, Jnana Yoga, Raja Yoga, just practicing more pranayama, but don't neglect the other aspects of the yoga. If you do, then again there will be one-sided development, and that will bring you further one-sided feedback too. To avoid all these things, attack the problem from all 4 levels: emotional level, intellectual level, scientific and analytical level, and then through the active tendencies, that's karma yoga. That means if you apply this properly and then you practice pranayama with yama niyama, the result is bound to come to you. You see the reactions in your body, mind, change is taking place. But again, warning is there. Never go too fast in anything. Don't go beyond your capacity. Just slowly develop. Just like lifting them. If I want to lift a 200 pounds weight, don't start with the 200 pounds, because somebody lifted 200 pounds, and he's also weighing only 150 pounds, that man, and he lifted about 200 pounds or 250. I'm also 150 pounds. If 150 man can lift up 250 pounds, I think I'm also 150 pounds, is it not? My weight also the same. So I can also lift 250. What will happen? Well, I'll break my back, not only back, my head, my neck, and my legs everywhere. So, the same thing. One person may be advanced from the past lives and also more purification in this life, and also he has got more discipline is undergoing. Maybe he gets results faster. But by looking at that, you still also want to get the same effect in a very short time, then you are going to get into problems. This warning, if you can remember this, go slowly and systematically and gently, It's not like Bhakti Yoga or any other thing what we are teaching you now. You need God's grace too, Guru's grace also to get the strength, not merely with your effort. So you must have full devotion. With that, with the God's faith and faith in Guru, you practice this, and slowly and gradually, Shakti will move on from the slumbering state, and you will have different types of spiritual and psychic experiences in time. But be careful and march very slowly in your path, like any other training. If you want to drive a car, you cannot just, because you know where the switch is there and where the clutch is there, you can't drive. You have to learn quite a lot. If you want to fly, the same situation. So also, if you want to fly in the spiritual path, better go very, very slowly and learn to control, especially to get the control over the nervous system. That is the most difficult part. The nervous system will be very strong and purified, along with the mental purification. And so asana, the regular pranayama, right, that will always strengthen your nervous system. The yam, ram, tham, etc. You are doing the pranayama with the syllables. This all will make your nervous system very strong to take high voltage. Otherwise, you would not be able to take up. Simple example, you see that suddenly he was in a very difficult situation. This also from my own experience, I know that what happened, because I experienced those type of things, so I can say the moment I saw, I know what is happening to him. So this can happen to you also, you see. So be careful. And with this thing, this morning, I'm going to give you 2 more times. You practice just to get the technique. But you don't have to do this every day now. Wait for more purification and then, but you practice little every day, 1 or 2 times just to get the technique. So you will remember. And then at the right time when you feel ready, at that time you practice regularly with your pranayama. Okay. Now 1 more round. We do 10 pumping this time. That's for you. First there will be violent motion. You are unable, though you are applying the bandha, all your locks will be broken. You will not be able to apply any locks. Your body will be violently moving. Well, rest when you get, and they do come back normally afterwards, as long as there is no obstacle to hit you. That's all you have to remember. Now you practice anywhere where you can fall off or any danger. The second motion, second time, again you apply bandha, then strike. Then your body just move off from various areas, move away from your, and then you fall. You may not even aware of it, what is happening to you. And then after a few minutes you wake up. Only the thing you must watch, during any of these experiences, there is no painful condition. It's always peaceful. Even when you fall, at least from outside point of view, it's something like a seizure, etc. But you feel it an intense joy and strength. And when you come out of it, you can think better. Your ability to concentrate, to communicate, everything will multiply. You are very peaceful. You can control all your sexual energy and so forth. The celibacy becomes natural because energy starts moving upward. You don't have any more desires for anything because energy starts sublimating, going upper directions, upper levels. These are some of the signs will be there. But if there's any painful conditions in any form, sometimes body will be quite hot, uncontrolled by heat and so forth, then you better stop it and you further purify with other breathing exercise. That's only one I want to give you all. If you remember these things, there will be no problem. Then God's grace, your Shakti will be moving up in this very life. You get tremendous amount of illumination by this Mother's grace. So that is the only practical thing I want to give you now and put the warning. Now, 10 minutes information and then come back and we'll start our lesson. We already know the carbohydrate metabolism, protein metabolism. Now the last group in the organic foods which the body it consumes is the fat. There are lots of misunderstanding and fear about fat. People think fat is very bad. Well, everything is bad. High protein is bad. We already saw. You have to waste lots of nitrogen. They excrete lots of nitrogen in the form of uric acid, urea, etc. Carbohydrates too much also. There is nothing in this universe is beneficial to you if you take it anything in disregarding to anything, food, asana, pranayama, meditation, japa, or karma yoga. Nothing should be done in excess. Everything should be done in moderately. That applies to all, including the foodstuffs too. So fat is not bad. Somehow many important functions of the fat you will learn in a very short time, and you see how important it is for your health and long life. Lipid or fat metabolism. The lipids or lipoids includes three classes of substances of great importance to our body. These three important substances, please write. 1. Simple fats. 2. Phospholipids. 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 PHOS, PHO, phospholipids, LIPIDs, phospholipids. Third, steroids and sterols, like cholesterol, sterols. Steroids, 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 and sterols. Cholesterol comes from the sterols. 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 That is cholesterol. End of the cholesterol. Same thing. Their functions. Simple fats. The simple fats are also known as triglycerides of fatty acids. Their functions may be briefly stated. 1. Because of the chemical composition, they are valuable purveyors of energy. PURBEYORS. It converts, like the carbohydrate converted into, it carries also energy purveyors. It carries, we will discuss that soon. Because some of the vitamins, it is not water soluble, like vitamin A and some other B, etc. will be soon discussing. These are not water soluble. It only soluble in oil, fat, you see. So there are two types of vitamins, water soluble vitamins and fat. So this helps also, we will come to that soon. So being stored as adipose tissue, fat forms the most important reservoir of energy in the body. In the average individual, fat contributes 10% of the body weight. That means all the stored fat can be brought into as useless energy. Third, the simple fats are used in the construction of more complex lipid structures such as lecithin and cholesterol. This takes place in the liver. 4. The glycerol of the fat can be converted into glucose and glycogen. Just like we did also with the protein, fat also can be converted and do convert into glucose and glycogen. It is somewhat, okay. 5. Fat and fat-like components are useful as solvents for some vitamins. These are the vitamins you need fat. Vitamin A, D, E and K. other substances which are fat soluble. The vitamin A, D, E, and K are not water soluble, so you need fat. 6. The fat slows gastric digestion and motility, but stimulate the flow of bile and emptying of the gallbladder. Fat slows gastric digestion. We'll come to that soon. Second, also it helps in flow of bile and emptying of the gallbladder. 7. With protein, that means combining with protein, they form loose combinations called lipoproteins. By joining with the protein, this renders them soluble in the fluid within the cells. When proteins, they form loose combinations with proteins, they form loose combinations called lipoproteins. This renders them soluble in the fluid within the cells. The second, that's called simple fat. These are the functions of the simple fat. Second, phospholipids. Lecithin, 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 the most important phospholipids in the body, is formed when a molecule of a neutral fat, like palmitin, one of the 3 fatty acids, is replaced by a complex nitrogen substances. You don't have to worry about this chemical thing. What you have to learn is due to the limited solubility, lecithin and cholesterol are components of the cellular structure. That is of the cellular structure appear to make up the framework which support the protein constituents of the cell protoplasm. That's the main function of that. Being found in all cells, this phospholipid, it seems to be essential for life. Its power to decrease surface tension causes it to be absorbed at the surface of protoplasm. This renders it very likely that it forms an important constitution of plasma membrane of the and contributes in no small degree to the selective permeability. While the fatty material in adipose tissue is present mostly as simple neutral fat, in the cells it exists in the more complex form of phospholipids. That's the main difference now. You can just this much only must understand. While the fatty material exists in adipose tissue is present mostly as simple natural fat, in the cell it exists in the more complex form of phospholipids and then esters and cholesterol. Third one is steroids and sterols, cholesterol. Of these several sterols, we shall mention only cholesterol. This lipid is absolutely necessary for life. As many people think cholesterol is very bad. Of course, it has got bad effects if it is too much, but this is very essential for life. The lipid is absolutely necessary for life. It is especially abundant in the white matter of the nervous system. With the nervous system, we'll understand gray matter and the white matter. It's especially abundant in the white matter of the nervous system. The gradually increasing amount from 0.5% in the fat cell to almost 2% in the adult brain is an index of its importance. Brain, central nervous system contains white as well as gray matter, and almost 2% of the brain contains cholesterol. It's probably that with the lecithin is constituted of the myelin sheath of the nerve fibers, The myelin is the cover for axons, the nerve. We'll discuss again nervous system. A new neuron has got dendrites, branches move shooting out, and also it's got axons. There's covering, insulation like in the wire. This we'll discuss in the nervous system. So this is also part of when that insulation is gone, then you keep many other nervous disorders like multiple sclerosis and what do you call that other muscular disorder. Some of the causes still scientists have not found out the real cause of this muscular conditions and weakness of the muscles and muscle weakness and but to a certain extent they know without this type of insulation there is short circuit in the nerve impulse. This we'll discuss more. But anyhow, now when you come to the nervous system, you understand this part of this myelin sheath of the nerve fiber is coming from this cholesterol also. It also has been suggested that aids in maintaining the semi-permeability of the plasma membrane. The percentage of cholesterol is also high in the cortex of the adrenals. Adrenal gland is very important. It contains two sections, adrenal cortex and adrenal medulla. And in the adrenal cortex you find, since it is insoluble in water and does not become rancid, it presents in the sebum. That is, sebum is the oil of the skin. So it's an active part in preserving the integrity of this organ. We lose the oily, though we don't apply oil, the skin has got a coat of this oily to keep it very smooth, and it also helps in many ways. So that comes from this. And many people apply, when you apply detergents and soaps constantly, we lose this oil, but somehow you get replenished by the same process. So the percentage of cholesterol is also high in the cortex of the adrenals. Since it's insoluble in water and does not become rancid, it presents in the sebum oil of the skin plays an active part in preserving the integrity of this organ. The skin will become very smooth. Derived from cholesterol, if that oil substance on your skin will become very dry. You can see some people's skin is very, very dry, almost peels off like snakes shedding off the skin. Derived from cholesterol or chemically closely related to it are a number of important physiologic agents such as bile acids, salts, adrenal cortical hormones, sex hormones, vitamins D, and certain venom and cancer-producing substances. It's all very close to that cholesterol. Cholesterol is synthesized in the liver and skin, just like. So the liver gets into problems everywhere, protein synthesized in the carbohydrate, also fat, everything. So you understand how important your liver is, but when you take alcohol and so forth, it will destroy that very nature of your liver. We don't have the time to go to all those digestive system and liver during this course, but if I'll maybe try to give some lessons after the course about those things. Huh? Cholesterol is synthesized in the liver and in skin. The amount found in the blood seems to be influenced by the amount in the diet. Actually, too much cholesterol means it must be too much coming from your intake of food. The amount in the body is greater in fat individuals. The role played by cholesterol in arteriosclerosis, we all know how it clogs the arteries. It's excess.
The cholesterol that's produced in the body and the cholesterol intake in fatty products is not the same. It's the process for it.
We're coming to that. Catabolism of fat. Our simple fat has been split into glycerol and fatty acids. Just like the carbohydrate is converted into glycogen, same way, the carbon chain, that is about 16 or 18 carbon chain constituting the fatty acid, is broken up into number of 8 of the 2 carbon pieces. That's called first how the carbon fat is been converted. The original simple fat is about 16 or 18 carbon chain. And when that has been broken down into 8 or 9, that means half of the original, and that again into 8 or into 2 carbon pieces, and that this occurs chiefly in the liver. Some of these fragments are oxidized to carbon dioxide and water, so the fat also brings you energy, just like the carbohydrates. So this occurs chiefly in the liver. Some of these fragments are oxidized to carbon dioxide and water in the liver, CO2 and H2O, for the production of energy. The larger part of the 2 carbon fragments unite to form 4 carbon molecules such as acetic acid, hydroxybutyric acid, and acetone. Don't worry about the chemical names, very difficult now. The liver and incidentally the brain is unable to make use of these acetic acid or any 4 carbon fragments. The acid therefore delivered by the circulation to the body tissues in general. Brain cannot use these 4 carbon particles, but is brought to the tissues. There the further dissimulation of acetic and associated with the production of the hydroxybutyrate and acid as acetone, having a group. This group is called, perhaps you must have heard, the ketone. Or spoken as the ketone bodies. The ketone forming functions of the liver was the preparation of ketone bodies by the liver, and the subsequent catabolism is in the tissues to CO2 and H2O is now held to be the normal course of fat metabolism and considered a very important source of energy. These are the mostly important things you must remember. Energy source of the fat. The preparation of ketone bodies by the liver, just like the carbohydrate is converted into glucose, or protein converted into amino acids. Saying the fat is converted into ketone to create energy. In the preparation of ketone bodies by the liver and the subsequent catabolism in the tissues, just like the glucose is catabolized in the tissues to CO2 and H2O, is now held to be the normal course of fat metabolism and constitutes a very important source of energy. This one, another important point you must remember is, although fats are always used by the cells, no matter how abundant the supply of carbohydrates may be, the amount of ketone formed in the liver is in inverse ratio the amount of glucose or glycogen available. Hence, in starvation or subsisting on a diet exceedingly rich in fats and very light in carbohydrates, or in diabetes, when carbohydrates are not extensively metabolized, the ketone formation may be by the liver is augmented. So when there is not enough carbohydrates in your diet and more fat, then in the liver there is more ketone formation takes place. Also during starvation too, we will come to that, during fasting and starvation. The diabetic, the exhaled air of that we don't. If the production of ketone exceeds the capacity of the tissues to catabolize them. They accumulate in the tissues. This condition is called ketosis or acidosis. So, just like carbohydrate, we cannot use all the things and store it we cannot use it in the blood in the form of glucose, so it's stored in the form of glycogen in the liver. So same thing. So when the production of the ketone exceeds the capacity of the tissues to catabolize them, they accumulate in the tissues, and tissues become very hard. There are some studies done by McGill University, but still they're doing. One cause of the old age or cell deterioration, body is made up of cells, is the cells get hardened. Not only arteries get hardened, the cells also get hardened. And the old age or the deterioration of the cells at an old age is caused by hardening of the tissues. So this also may be cause for the hardening of the tissues too, to create that particular condition. Influence of hormones. The production of ketones in the liver is inhibited by insulin. This is largely due to its ability to increase the catabolism of the glucose, and insulin also favors the storing of fat in adipose tissues and lessen the supply of fat to the liver. Liver contains the pancreas contains insulin making cells in the islets of the pancreas. The purpose of the insulin is to burn up sugar, catabolism. Because of insulin more interested to catabolize the carbohydrates, it inhibits the accumulation of fat in the liver in the form of ketone. So the production of ketone is reduced. Again, your pancreas, insulin, and pituitary gland, they function opposite. Pituitary diabetes also exists, not only pancreatic diabetes, but when the pituitary is active, it secretes the pituitary hormones, which will act upon the pancreas and on the sugar metabolism. That means insulin will have less effect when there's too much. Simple example is 1/4. If the balance is there between insulin and the pituitary hormones, then you can maintain a balance. But if the insulin is produced normally by the pancreas, it's all right. But the pituitary is secreting more pituitary hormones. In that condition, you will not be able to, the insulin of the liver is not sufficient to burn up in normal state. So there is also a kind of diabetes, you get it by the overactive pituitary. Same thing happens also in the fat metabolism. If the pancreas is secreting insulin properly and synthesizing carbohydrate, but when too much fat is there, this insulin will not take fat for the body energy. It will take more from the carbohydrates. And again, You are taking lots of fat already in the body accumulated in the form of adipose tissues, and daily intake also contains some amount of fat. Now, which fat the body is going to use? Intake of, because already accumulated fat is there, and there's also fat coming from the today's meal. Which fat the liver is going to convert into ketone and energy more? The accumulated fat. More it is than the food fat coming from that. That means the fat is continuously changing. It's not it's permanently staying in it. It's constantly moved on. This will be also coming soon. We'll understand that. So anyhow, pituitary gland secretion also affects your carbohydrate metabolism as well as your fat metabolism. The pituitary hormones has opposite effect to, okay, the insulin influences, it has an influence on the carbohydrate and reduce the effect of the fat. So the body is, fat is not going into the liver to convert into ketone, so it is deposited in the tissues. So the production of the ketones in the liver is inhibited by insulin. This is largely due to its ability to increase the catabolism of glucose. Hence, insulin also favors the storing of fat in adipose tissues and lessen the supply of fat to the liver. Now, the pituitary hormone opposite to the insulin. The pituitary hormone has the opposite effect. It mobilizes the fat, favors the formation of ketone in the liver, and decreases the power of tissues to consume glucose. Diametrically opposite to what insulin. Insulin allows the glucose to be used and lessen the fat deposit in the liver from the ketone, and opposite is the pituitary. It does exactly reverse. It reduces the carbohydrate metabolism and increases the use ketone formation in the. So these are the two basic functions of how the liver is connected with the two glands, pituitary and the pancreas. The pituitary hormone has the opposite effect. It mobilizes the fat, favors the formation of ketones in the liver, and decreases the power of tissues to consume glucose. When fat arrives at the liver faster than it can be disposed of by ketone formation, the fat accumulates and causes a fatty liver. In a fatty liver, serious damage is caused by the fat clouding upon the capillaries, shutting off the blood supply and causing the death of the cells. This leads to the formation of the scar tissues, a condition known as cirrhosis of the liver. This is what happens when you take too much alcohol. It destroys the normal liver cells and there it's been replaced by fatty cells. Very bad situation, and extreme case, death takes place. The fatty state of liver can be relieved by that chemical that is by giving choline and so forth. Fat and carbohydrate metabolism. In order that the ketone bodies may be completely catabolized and not appear in the blood, a certain amount of carbohydrate must be catabolized. Fat burns in the fire of carbohydrate. When this is insufficient, ketosis sets in. That is the acidosis or Ketosis, what you call it. So if the ketone is completely catabolized and not appear in the blood, for this a certain amount of energy must come from carbohydrate metabolism. So the fat burns in the fire of carbohydrate, just like oil. When this is insufficient, that means you don't have enough carbohydrates to burn up the formation of ketone to convert, then you get some problems also called ketosis. Adipose tissue. Adipose tissue is a modification of areolar tissue. In many parts of the body, these connective tissues become charged with few microscopic droplets of fat. The connective tissues between each cell is the place the extra fat is stored up in the form of adipose tissues. By coalescing and by the acquisition of more fat, the drop goes in size until finally it occupies the whole cell, while with the exception of a narrow rim of protoplasm in which is lodged. Except the nucleus, slowly the fat will go on accumulate around the, first it starts in the connective tissues and then will be entire surrounding the structure itself of the cell. Adipose tissue found chiefly beneath the skin, in the intermuscular connective tissues, and in the abdominal cavity. The fat in the depots, just like adipose tissues, is not inert, not the inert fixed material it may appear to be by means of special source. In adult mice, one half of the stored fat is regenerated from 5 to 9 days. The composition of storage fat may undergo changes. For example, that means constant, though the fat is accumulating adipose tissues, every 8 or 9 days there is change. So it is not permanently stationary there. That's only to remember in this point. Source of stored fat. The simple fats stored in adipose tissues are derived from 3 sources: food fat, carbohydrate, and protein. So fat is not only coming from the fat alone, even carbohydrate and protein also will give you fat. So the people think if I take only protein, I will have no more fat. That's not the case. So people blame always, oh, I don't eat too much sugar, you put on fat. But any food which your body cannot use it, and some of this food can be stored in the form of fat. Body has got the capacity. Now the food fats, in depositing the fat, the animals try to lay down that which is peculiar to its species. But if a larger amount of foreign fat is fed, the animal may deposit this in its adipose tissue. For example, for a dog fed upon linseed oil deposits a fat having a much lower melting point than the normal body fat. That's the difference between body fat and food fat. Then cows fed on linseed oil yields an unmarketable butter. What do you mean unmarketable? Huh? It is because just like the fat melts it melts only in a very high degree. So the butter coming from merely giving that linseed fat oil that fat is very difficult. That butter is different from the normal state of butter of coming up because of the high fat content in the. So the body is trying to. The body uses, though the food fat coming up, there's a body fat. Which fat body is going to use first? The body fat. That's what happens in the high fat diet. Body is only storing up, but body is using the other fats. The carbohydrates can be transformed by the animal body into fat is one of the best food facts in metabolism. Now, reserve food, the function of the adipose tissues. Adipose tissues serving 4 important functions. This you can note. This you can remember. Adipose, A-D-I-P-O-S-E. If you don't know where it is here. See? Plenty. Adipose tissues serve 4 important functions. Reserve food. Reserve, it acts as a reservoir of food for energy for future when you are starving and so forth. Second is insulation. Protection and the most important thing is the right proportion, it takes beautiful contour. Or wrong proportion, it is very ugly. That's all. So, if there is fat is not there, then your body looks like a skeleton. You can see that. Look at that skeleton. So, all the beautiful curves, whatever you call it, is because of the fat is put in the right place and covered. When it's not there, it will become skinny. Or also, if it's too much, there will be no more contours also. So both are bad. So these are the 4 functions. Reserve food. During fasting, the glycogen is first extensively but not exclusively drawn upon. You already know that. As the blood sugar drops down during fasting, the liver is converting the glycogen into glucose by adding water. That C5H10, C6H10 and O5 added 2 more hydrogen and 1 more oxygen. And so when that is, no more glycogen is there, the liver cannot anymore convert into glucose to maintain the blood sugar level, and then comes the reserve fat. There comes the energy. So when Swami Dattatrayanaji and me fast, we can fast longer days than you all. Because we got lots and lots of energy stored up for emergency. Because we know that something is going to happen to this world. So we are preparing for emergency, you see. So that's how. So during the fasting, the glycogen is first extensively but not exclusively drawn upon. The total amount of glycogen that can be stored in the liver and muscle is only about 450 grams. You can make note if you want. The amount of glycogen and the sugar can be stored by the body is about 450 grams or equivalent to a 2 days intake of carbohydrates. So 2 days food you are having already, you got enough glycogen and glucose. Without having additional food, you can 2 days you can supply, survive. This reserve is soon exhausted after fasting. This 450 grams Now the fat lodged in the connective tissue cells is reabsorbed by the blood and carried to the organs in need of energy furnishing material. At that time, the adipose tissues, the connective tissues which holds the fat molecule, is being brought to the particular organs which needs the energy. As much as 97% of all the deposited fat may be withdrawn. When you are fasting, about 97% you can withdraw. With respect to storage, fat is superior to glycogen in that the amount of fat stored may be enormous, and in that the energy content of fat is 2 1/4 times as great as that of the same amount either of carbohydrate or protein. So you see, protein is not as bad as you think, is it not? The fat is not as bad.